Hello, and welcome to the video. My name is Ben, and today I'll be covering the design process for video games. This process is very important for anyone looking to get into the games industry. Before we get into the video proper, first I want to tell you guys a little bit about myself. I've been in the game development industry for around 2 years. I'm currently working as the level designer at The Zoo, an indie game studio based in Ontario, Canada. You can find all of our games on Steam. I will have them linked in the description below. And I graduated from Niagara College Canada's game development program, which took around 3 years. This program entailed a lot about game development, including the game design process I'll talk about today. Today's video will cover the design process, what it is and what are the stages, as well as any sub-stages. And it'll go over my role as a level designer. What were my responsibilities? What does this entail as a level designer? As well as some tips and tricks to help make this process a little bit less stressful for anyone who's up and coming in the level design field or in the game development field in general. I will be visualizing the design process from a level designer's point of view. Now, what is the design process? It is the life of a game over 3 separate stages. These stages can take anywhere from a handful of days to a couple of weeks to even years at a time, depending on how big the production is, as well as your team. It is a mandatory part of game development, as all games, big and small, follow the design process in one way or another, where some stages may be omitted. The steps or the stages of the design process are pre-production, production, and post-production. The pre-production stage is where games first come to life. This is where you are able to jot down all of your ideas, have any cool sketches, or just simply chat with whoever you are working with on this game about the idea. You will also create a game design document, or a GDD as it's known in short form. Now just a little note that a lot of smaller studios may have a very lax or non-existent GDD. However, this will always exist in some shape or form. It may not be a full fleshed out document, however, it will still be there. In pre-production, you also look at other games in the genre and see how your production can compete. If you're looking at a tower defense game, you could look at a lot of games, such as Gemcraft would be one of them. That's what we looked at when my studio made our first tower defense game. We had a lot of fun making it, and this is also where you can prototype certain game mechanics, such as a double jump, a jetpack, or a very fancy gun. The production stage is where you actually make the game. You will follow the game design document or some form of layout. There are multiple stages within the production stage. The very first stage you'll encounter, the first stage within the production stage, is the first playable build. This is when the game is slowly coming together and you have something to show for it. You can use this build to garner attention for your game or to make a very fancy trailer, but you may want to wait down the line for that one, just so you have more time to focus on the game itself. Then you'll encounter the vertical slice. It's a very simple level or two of gameplay that is very fleshed out and it feels complete, and you can use this to be pitched towards investors or you can use it for marketing. The pre-alpha stage is when the game production is in full swing. You have your couple levels down that you made before, you're really enjoying it, and now it's time to continue on with development. The alpha stage is when a lot of the main game features are done, such as running, jumping, driving, or whatever your game will entail. In this stage, changes can be made without any hindrance to production, meaning you can have a massive change to one of the mechanics or to the game world itself, and it will not affect the production very much. The beta stage is smoothing out gameplay. This is where the game is pretty much solidified, you are very happy with it, and no real major changes should come after the beta stage, unless you get feedback from the alpha stage and you just preemptively moved into the beta stage and you have to make some changes. The final stage, and every game developer's dream, is the Gold Master. This is where everyone can enjoy your months, years, or days of hard work. The final stage in the design process is the post-production stage. This is where your game is out, and now it is time for maintenance. You look at your game and fix any bugs that are big or small upon release, as well as listen to feedback from people based on their reviews of the game and how to improve the overall experience for a lot of players. Also, this is the time where you will sit down with your team and talk about the design process and how to improve it for next time. Just remember that no design process is perfect and there's always room for improvement. Now, we'll talk about the design process from a level designer point of view. I have had much experience with this over my 2 years professionally, seeing as we have a bunch of games in the works, as well as the games that have already been released. Your main roles and tasks are to make maps for your assigned levels, or in my case, working at an indie studio, I make all the maps. You also give an asset list to your artist, if you have one, for them to make. This includes little things such as trees, buildings, weapons, rocks, pretty much anything you would need to make a very good level. And you also gather images or videos of places to act as inspiration. So if you want to make a little store, you can go to your local grocery store and take some pictures around there to get a feel of what it's like being inside. A couple tips to make this stage a little bit less stressful on any up and coming level designers. Take your time with your maps. They don't have to be perfect, they're just outlines of how you should design the level going forward in the process when you get to production. It doesn't have to look very pretty, you don't have to have immaculate details everywhere. As long as you know exactly how you want the map to look and how you want that to translate into the level, that's all that matters. As well, make sure you completely understand the game and how the maps and levels should flow with the game, as well as how they should flow with gameplay. That is very important when it comes to making levels, because if the gameplay is supposed to be very fast-paced, but you make a wide open level, it just doesn't suit the game very well. So take some time to understand what you want the game to feel like. Now into the production stage. Your main roles are to, obviously, build the levels based on the maps that you made. You start by whiteboxing, where if you have not heard that term, it's quite literally what it sounds like. You take boxes, or any primitive shapes within Unity or Unreal, or any game engine you're using, and you just place them around to act as placeholders. This will give you an idea for how you designed your map, and whether or not you should make some changes. Then, you'll add in assets from the artist whenever they are done, and they can give it to you. So if you have a building, you can place a building on the desired spot that you would want it. This is also where you'll tweak the levels as needed, to just for any gameplay. If you feel like some areas are a little bit too big or too small, this is where you have the creative liberty to go ahead and adjust them as need be. To make this stage less stressful, follow your maps. You made them for a reason. And remember, they don't have to be perfect. The maps are more of a guideline you should follow. If a building is off by a couple pixels, don't worry about it. You're fine. Which leads perfectly into the next point, where you don't have to worry about perfection on the first build. It's very easy to get caught up in a perfection loop, trying to make sure that this building is perfect, and you have a whole other level to make. So take your time, place stuff down, and then go back and visit once you're happy with how everything should look. Also, feel free to talk to your artists and programmers about any discrepancies you may have. If you want your artist to redo a building, you just let them know and they'll be more than happy to help you out, especially when it's early on and not later on in this stage when it's very hard to kind of go back to your work. And for the programmers, if you don't really like their controller that much, talk to them and say, this is what you should probably do to improve it. And again, they will listen. Will they like it? Probably not, but who cares? Finally, we get to post-production as a level designer. The main roles are really just to listen to feedback and adjust your level accordingly based on feedback you get from either the test audience or from the actual audience itself, from the people that buy your games, because their opinions are very important into making future sales. Also, you just reflect on the process and think about ways to improve it for next time. Now, there's really nothing you can do here to make your life a little bit easier or to make the stage a little bit less stressful, because at this point I find that a lot of the designer's work is finished and any adjustments you would need to make are relatively minor. The only thing I would say is trying to get the next stuff up. Like if you have an update that you want to release in a couple months, you got to get those maps ready, which you pretty much do this whole process over again by making the maps, building the white box, putting in the assets, and making the level look good. Well, this concludes today's video. Thank you so much for watching, and be sure to like and subscribe for more content like this.